Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more legacy action. Today I'm opening my Depthsmith sack once again and pulling out this green-black Depths build. Now this is a sort of fairer, almost like slow Depths build. This was one that managed to 5-0 a league recently, and a donor got in touch with me and wanted to see this on the channel, so here we are. So we all know and love how Dark Depths works. We either remove all the counters with Hexmage, or we make a copy with no counters with Thespian stage, and we end up with a 20/20 that turns sideways and our opponent dies. We still have things that you would expect to see, like crop rotation to find our pieces, once upon a time to make our opening hand pretty good, and Thoughtseizes and some Inquisitions to punch a hole in our opponent's hand to make sure our combo goes through. This is where the deck starts to deviate. So we have a one-of life from the Loam, so we have this sort of later game insurance plan where we can just redeploy the combo again and again using life from the Loam. We also have Orcish Bowmasters as a creature that is just generally good in Legacy and can give us a little bit of interaction to make the game stretch out a little bit longer so we can get all our ducks in a row. This also provides us with a token, which means that we don't lose our creature to Shoulder's Edict, which can be a big deal. Then we have 4 Elvish Reclaimers instead of Sylvan Scrying. This can obviously, on its own, find us both halves of the combo, so it gives us much more keepable hands to start with. And we have Legolas's Quick Reflexes as our main protection spell. We're trying to go slower, so this is just going to give us the ability to protect our creature, no questions asked. And sometimes it turns our Elvish Reclaimer into a removal spell. It can also allow us to get multiple activations out of a Reclaimer in a single turn. As for the mana base, it's kind of what you'd expect to see, really. We've gone down on Urborg, and we've got some Yavimayas in here. We've got ourselves some Mox Diamonds, so we can accelerate out and do things that way, and hopefully that we can rebuy that loss of cards via things like, Life from the Loam and that sort of jazz. We've got a few more silver bullets, so we've got access to Karakas and Echoing Deeps, which can then become a second copy of Bojuka Bog if we Reclaimer it away. The Boseiju is much worse in this build than it is in Turbo Depths because we don't have a way of shooting this into our hand, but obviously it's still just a green source and still great. We have 2 Wastelands instead of any Ghost Quarters here, and we're not running Pithing Needles, so the idea is that we can keep recurring Wastelands, maybe with Life from Loam or fetching more with Reclaimer, so that we can take out our opponent's scary lands like their Karakas and their Wastelands and then win that way. Out of the sideboard, we've got a little bit of removal in Dismember and Shoulder's Edict, alongside these Abrupt Decays, which can hit pretty much anything, including all the problem cards like Mages of the Moon and that sort of jazz. We've got Graveyard Hate in the form of Endurance and Surgical Extraction. We've got a little bit more Hand Disruption and a Duress, and then we've got a one-of Barrowgoyf that we can just board in as like an extra threat if we want to go up and that sort of thing. And of course a couple of Force of Vigors in case we need to blow up some scary artifacts and enchantments. So that, lovely people, is what we're playing today. I hope you're enjoying Depthsmith and are ready to enjoy a little bit more of it. Please remember to like and subscribe and become a member of YouTube. Just for $1 a month, you can become a member of the channel and see my videos early, so you don't miss out on any Depthsmith in case you want to watch a bit more over Christmas. Alright, let's get stuck in. With Christmas almost here, there's no better place to buy Magic the Gathering products than 3-for-1 Trading. They boast an enormous array of singles and sealed products to help you complete your pre-modern and legacy collections. Whether you are looking for a gift for that special someone or just want to treat yourself, be sure to use the code COW3 on your first order over $500 for free worldwide shipping. Alright, we're in it. What are we doing with our hand? Kind of normal looking stuff. I'll keep this. We can distract our opponent with the Bowmasters perhaps as well. A Dark Ritual. Are we dead on turn 1 to Utsal spells? Now there are a few other decks that could have a similar start, but it does feel like we're getting done this way. I guess we cast our Once Upon a Time. Karakas, Vampire Hexmage. Guess I'll take a Hexmage here. Feels like they're going to just kill us this turn though. If they're Utsal spells and they kept to 7, then we're dead. Utsal spells has been doing pretty well again, which isn't really what anyone wants to see. There it goes. We'll have a look at their graveyard when it flips over in case there's anything interesting. We can work out what flavour of deck they are in terms of how they can pivot. Pacts of Negation. Okay, have Disciples, so they're probably doing the non-pivot plan into creatures. Alright, we got turn 1 before we got a turn. Not the ideal start. I will play anything that interacts with their graveyard. So that's these cards. I would also take a Duress. This Force of Vigor can deal with potentially their Charbelcher plan, so I am interested in that. We don't need to protect our creatures, so that's not what this game is about. Orcish Bowmasters can beat down and just do stuff, that's fine. I don't think we need to do Life from the Loam things. It's kind of like slow and not what we're about. Crop rotation, obviously excellent. Wastelands are pretty fine here. Sejiri Steppe allows us to push through a Narcomoeba sometimes. I think that's worth having. The Echoing Deep, so we can Bojuka Bog twice, seems pretty good. What is the cut here? Is it just Bowmasters? Do we not get these Force of Vigors in? We probably need to get the Vigors in, right? In case I have Charbelcher. Probably means we just end up cutting the Bowmasters. They are something that can come and like beat down a little bit, but they're not really that exciting. It's just, it doesn't require an A+B for that to actually start clocking our opponent still. We get to Inquisition our opponent's hand. And once upon a time, for something, I think this is okay. So we have the ability to, once upon a time, maybe hit a Dark Depths here and just go on turn 2. Okay, I will take this Endurance. I will Urborg and Inquisition our opponent. They have one Undercity Informer. And that's it. So I guess we take their payoff here. We could take their only black mana. No, we can't. They have 2 bits of black mana. I guess it just has to be the Informer. Okay, so now they can Cabal Therapy, taking the Endurance they know that we have. So this is Felmaya. It's Fel the Rubberfane. Cabal Therapy, we lose our Endurance. That is unfortunate. Can we just draw a Dark Depths though? And maybe we get to race what our opponent's putting down. Don't really want them to know what we have, but do we have a Surveil land? Let's check. There is no... Oh, there is one Surveil land. Okay. Which means we want to use a swamp for this. We just want to get our beat down, I think. Garden of Frailes. Untapped. We're going to see a Boggart Trawler as a threat. A Witherbloom Apprentice. Oh, this is an unusual pivot. I've not seen this before. Makes sense if you're playing the green-black build. It's kind of cool. So they have Chain of Smog in their deck for just an infinite combo with it. That was Bayou. I will attack, and I will try and kill our opponent next turn. They have one mystery card in hand. If we just hit them with a disruption spell and they just drew an A plus a B in 2 turns consecutively, then yeah, that's Magic the Gathering. I'll take it. Boggart Bog. Tapped or untapped? Tapped. Okay. Another Witherbloom Apprentice. You got it. 3 cards in hand. One of them is a mystery to us. I assume they get in for 2 here. And then they die when we cast this Crop Rotation in their end step. I rotate away the Swamp because I prefer to have the Bayou around. Dark Depths. Untap. We bash for lethal. They don't even have the luxury of being able to cast a couple of spells and just put themselves above 20. Even if they had something. To sideboarding. So the pivot is Witherbloom. So I think I would rather have access to a couple of Abrupt Decays than these Force of Vigors. Good to know. And maybe Orcish Bowmasters can become an Abrupt Decay as well. We have 2 pieces of Graveyard Hate and an answer to the other combo. And we have the potential to kill them on turn 2. Whether or not we do that doesn't make sense though, because we have to do this at sorcery speed and we just pass the turn to them, and that is super scary. So we don't get to kill them like that. We're going on turn 1? No, we get a turn, maybe. This is tapped, so... They won't get a Lotus Petal out of their hands, so we can't interact with it. That's interesting. I'm going to play a Verdant Catacombs. I'm going to go and fetch right away and go and get ourselves a Bayou. And then we're just going to pass. We have 2 pieces of Graveyard Hate. Witherbloom Apprentice. Okay. I have lots of Graveyard Hate. I hope they just go for the combo. They discard their whole hand, and then we Abrupt Decay them. What a great card Abrupt Decay is. I think we probably Abrupt Decay this at end step anyway. Just for efficiency of mana. Get out of here with the bloom. Why did I draw the Bojuka Bog? That's such a pain. Like, I think it's going to be fine, but it's definitely irritating. Let's get this Hexmage in. We have Crop Rotation available. So we can try and go for the win. We do still have Endurance and Surgical Extraction, so we have 3 pieces of Graveyard Hate. I'd rather keep hold of my green source here, so at end step we're going to Crop Rotate away this Urborg. Go and get Dark Depths. And our opponent scoops it up. Get in the bin. Oops all spells. I do like our Oops all spells matchups with Turbo Depths, and we're pretty close to Turbo Depths, so we've got a lot of the same tools. Alright, on to round number 2. Sure, we can keep this. All of our lands are Bayous if we have these 2 legends. That's pretty cool. Although all of our opponent's lands are also Bayous. I think we're going to go for Thoughtseize first. Why is their hand doing this, and how do I change it back? Double Doomsday is kind of annoying. Don't really want to play against a Tamiyo though. We could take a Doomsday this turn and Doomsday next turn, but then Tamiyo gets up and running and we probably lose to Tamiyo, so I guess we have to take Tamiyo. So next turn we have Reclaimer into Inquisition, then we can start pressuring our opponent. We're also pretty close to the Dark Depths combo the turn after. Well, we do have it the turn after. Now, we know about Force of Will, so I don't just want to willy-nilly throw it out. Martial Arts pass. I don't think Inquisition over here. I think we Inquisition off of this land, actually. Because then we have an option to rotate away the Yavimaya. No, rotate away the Urborg. Right, we'll see. It doesn't really matter which one we tap first, really. Doomsday, Ponder, Force of Will, some mana. What do I think is the correct pick here? I could take the Petal to slow him down. I could take this blue card and just be like, no blue card for your Force of Will. And then this can become a Thespian stage. So this also hurts them in terms of getting black for Doomsday. We can still cast our little Reclaimer. So this takes them off of the triple black, which they were going to have next turn off this Island and Lotus Petal. So we probably slow them down a turn, and then we have uncounterable Marit Lage turn after. So they need to put Doomsday on the stack this turn and have passed the turn once pile, or they have to play Doomsday next turn and have a I win the game this turn pile, which requires them to have some sort of cantrip in hand. Okay, they got rid of the lines like Diamond. Obviously, stuff in their graveyard can go into a Doomsday pile because of how it works. Let's play your island and pass the turn, opponent. I think if they don't Doomsday this turn, our chances of winning are very high. And if they Doomsday this turn, our chances of winning are very low. Dark Ritual. It's a Doomsday. There it is. Doomsday is not a matchup I like playing with any depths variant, really. Let's see what sort of Doomsday deck they are, if they're going to be like doing tempo or not. Our opponents finished making their pile and they're playing out the Lotus Petal. Let's see what they've got in here. They've got the Tamiyos, they've got Thassa's Oracle, they have Murktide Regent, only Wastelands. There are Wastelands in here. Okay, so they are on the quite tempo-y build that can just pivot into not being a Doomsday deck at all post-board. So we play out our Dark Depths. We don't have any land that we can just get that helps us out here. We need our opponent to not win the game this turn, which seems basically impossible. They've stacked their deck. They just need to draw a couple of cards. Street Wraith is the first. Reclaimer only gets tap land, so we don't really have any agency here. There is a Ponder. They get to look at 3, put one of them into their hand. If it's a Thassa's Oracle, they cast it. We don't have any recourse and we die. A Street Wraith, they're going down to one card in their pile. They might just have... Okay, so going down to 0 cards and then playing out the Thassa's Oracle. Let's just have a quick check to see if there's anything that matters here. Nothing matters. There is an Oracle, and there goes that game. On to the sideboard. So we need to be aware of their fair plan here. Anything that beats them down is good against their regular plan. We need to be able to kill their fair plan. These decks are always pivoting now, so I'm going to respect that. So we have a bunch of stuff I'm interested in. What am I not so interested in? Legolas' quick reflexes I don't think is where I need to be here, so they can just come out. Bojuka Bog is sometimes going to be useful, but isn't really that good, and we're boarding in better stuff, so I think I'm okay to take one of those out. Karakas bounces Tamiyos, that's worth including. The crop rotation gets harder to utilise in this matchup for sure. We take out a couple of those, because we have a fair plan that's pretty good ourselves. Do we need this Duress? Maybe we don't need the Duress. Are we taking out Echoing Deeps, since we don't need to go twice, probably? Maybe we can take out one Mox Diamond, because we definitely don't want to ever draw 2 of those. Alright, we're going to try like this. Generally speaking, the main plan of these Doomsday decks is to pivot to tempo in game 2, and then in game 3, leave your opponent guessing which one you're playing. We could just keep this Duress in as one of our extra cards that is good against what our opponent's doing. Maybe Trimmer Once Upon a Time. Okay, we'll have the Duress in just in case they are sort of next leveling us and not sideboarding into the tempo plan. On a play, which certainly helps, but this hand doesn't help. Let's mulligan. This hand is kind of rubbish, isn't it? We've got we've got a Thoughtseize, an Endurance we can't cast. Dismember is pretty good for the fair plan if that's what we think our opponent is on. We have a bunch of draws that are good. Like I guess we keep, and it's maybe the Mox that goes back. Why is it doing this with their hand? I never used to do this. Okay, so we have double Doomsday, double Street Wraith, Brainstorm. I believe we take the Brainstorm here. There is Undercity Sewers we knew about. They're going to be able to get to their pile pretty darn quickly when they Get their street race going. A Mox Diamond. Really, really awkward. I guess we just play out this Boseiju. I don't know if we want to do this or not, because if we draw anything that goes with it, we can just combo. So we kind of just sit here for a turn. The Endurance can help us beat a Doomsday pile, though. Okay, a Forest is reasonable here. So we can play an Endurance and start beating our opponent down. But it's also one of our pieces of interaction. I think our opponent is supposed to stay on the Doomsday plan against a sort of Turbo Depth style deck, rather than Duke to Tempo, which is going to be an easier matchup for the Depths deck. But obviously, they know that we know that. So we have to plan around them keeping some guys in, or maybe going up on guys. If our opponent does nothing this turn, we play the Endurance. We can put our opponent to 17, and if they half that, they go to 8. 7, 6, 5, 4. So if we can find like another bit of threat to add on top of this, then we should be able to stop our opponent from drawing through their pile with the street race in their hand. Polluted Delta. Okay, looks like our opponent's thinking about casting a Doomsday. They are casting a Doomsday. We're going to go to 9 off of this. So we hit them down to 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. So we can still get through their pile. The Doomsday ends up in the graveyard here, so we could put this on the bottom, and that maybe messes up their piles slightly and opens up our Dismember to work on them. So they can play it, but without an empty deck, and then we can Dismember them. So I think we might be playing the Endurance now instead of waiting for them. They do have another Doomsday, so they can obviously fire another one off, but it becomes very difficult to do that when you've got a big elemental bashing you. I am going to get the Endurance in here. So we could hold this and try and put everything on the bottom when they go for their Thassa's Oracle plan. But this works and also gives us a way of beating them down, because they're not going to have an empty pile when they go. It is possible they can still get empty though, and maybe this is a mistake playing this out. But I like the plan to get things moving this way. So you get this extra card on the bottom of your library now. We have multiple removal spells. Our opponent's is 6. So if they pass the turn again, these street rates are completely off. We also get to do this before our opponent really gets to dig into their pile if they've got some weird interaction. Doing the unexpected thing against Doomsday decks can also be really helpful, because they don't know that we're just going to play this out with a beta. Okay, a Wasteland. That's fine. Take us off of black. I will float black. We still have this Dismember this turn cycle to kill the Oracle. They might be worried about Orcish Bowmaster here. So they're going to pass to the second main phase and then try and go. They also might think that we don't have any removal now, so they can play with a non-empty deck. So that's one of the street wraiths gone. If they use the other street wraith, they do die on our next attack. Okay, so this is the all or nothing turn for our opponent. 3 cards left in our library. One of them is a Doomsday. They go into 1 here. That does mix up their pile a little bit. Thassa's Oracle. The trigger on a stack, we're going to shoot this. If they got a counter spell, then basically anything we do didn't matter. So it is what it is. They could have just had Forcible Blue card as the top 2 cards. They could just grab them with the Street Wraiths if they wanted them. Alright, we managed to win the game. I like it. Good. I think I'm happy with the plan we have. And we're just going to go back in. Oh, they said they had Forcible there at 1 life. So our beatdown plan actually made a huge difference there. Because if we hadn't been beating them down, they would have had the life. So if we'd have tried to snag them with the Endurance, it wouldn't have worked. So actually our play ended up navigating our opponent's pile really nicely. Happy about that. What does this hand do? It doesn't really cast spells, which feels like a bit of an issue. We could crop rotate on 1 to get Thoughtseize, but in the face of our opponent's permission, I don't really like that very much. This hand is a bit better. What are we putting away? It's probably just a stage here. We don't need that. We already have Black Black and Hexmage. It's a Tamiyo. Hate it, but here we are. Okay, I think I'm going to use my Inquisition this turn rather than the Thoughtseize. We're saving the Thoughtseize for later on. We can hit a Murktide Regent or a Force of Will. We don't really care about Force of Will right now. So our opponent has a Brainstorm and just wants to play the Tamiyo game. Now, we have a pretty good answer for Tamiyo in our deck in terms of Vampire Hexmage. But it's still going to accrue a clue, so we're still going to end up behind, which is the experience of Tamiyo. You always are behind whenever your opponent plays a Tamiyo. You get 1 turn to maybe answer it and trade evenly. Urborg being lost is annoying, but it also is annoying for our opponent because this gives them black mana off of their blue lands, which can really help with their trying to cast Doomsday lifestyle. Okay, let's go for Inquisition. A Barrowgoyf and 2 Force of Wills. Goodbye, Barrowgoyf. Clues will continue to accumulate, and we might just get Wastelanded again. Wasteland obviously pretty good against our general game plan here of making Marit Lage off of Dark Depths. The Wasteland. I think I'm happy to keep attacking my opponent's hand here. Thoughtseize. Sorry, Force of Will, and Dark Ritual. I'll take one of the forces, I think. Another clue. Underground Sea. Orcish Bowmasters. So I've used both their Wastelands. Is there any point playing this out? If we draw one of our lands that makes our other lands tap, which we have 4 more in our deck, playing out the Dark Depths here makes a lot of sense. So I'm going to play out. I think they only had 2 Wastelands when we saw their list in game 1 as well. They could obviously have more in the sideboard. If they just don't hit mana and can't convert these clues, then we'll take it. They might even just like Dark Ritual to crack a clue. If they find a land, they get to crack a second clue. We're not really in a great position if they end up getting another land to start doing clue stuff. Ponder. Right, no second land. They've shuffled off their Ponder. We're getting somewhere here. If they crack a clue, we can fire them with the Bowmasters. If they put a cantrip on the stack, we can fire them with the Bowmasters. And if we find a land, we get a 20/20. Dark Ritual. I don't believe we've shown them Bowmasters yet. It's entirely possible they have a blue card now for this Force of Will. They're going to want to use it. This just represents a whole lot of damage from their clues that they've got stacked up. Force of Will pitching a leftover Tamiyo. Okay. If we draw a green source here, we can hold up Endurance if they try and combo us out in one turn, and then if they don't, we just make a 20/20. So we've got some nice options available as long as we get to make it around the table again. Dark Ritual. They find the Doomsday? No, they're just cracking another clue to flip the Tamiyo. They're at 19, so the minus on the Tamiyo doesn't matter to us. Be a good turn to draw some mana. We did draw some mana. You are in check, opponent. I can minus this and get back a Ponder to dig. I don't think we can afford to play around Wasteland in case they do manage to string together a Doomsday Wing, because they have access to the Dark Ritual as well. So they have land, they can get the Dark Ritual, they can cast Doomsday, use the land they have left over to cast like a Ponder or a Brainstorm to get in their pile and win the game. So I don't think we get to play this 20/20 out around Wasteland, but I don't think our opponent has more than 2 Wastelands. I didn't count them, but 2 is normally quite normal for these Doomsday decks. They're getting back the Dark Ritual, so we could have cast Endurance to stop them getting back the Dark Ritual. Are they just cracking clues? It is a Doomsday, so do you have the win right now, opponent? Opponent spent a while on their pile, and here we are. Let's just have a quick check. How many Force of Wills we got here? 1 Force of Will, 2 Force of Will, 3 Force of Will. Let's just do another count. 1 Force of Will, 2 Force of Will, 3 Force of Will, 4 Force of Will. How many days is 1 days? Okay. Our plan is probably going to be Endurance our way through this one. We can beat the days. We can't beat double days. We know they don't have Force. Another Tamiyo. Is that your plan, opponent? If we make the guy, we can't Endurance is the problem. So we could Endurance now instead. If we make the guy, we have to draw a land. We could also draw Sejiri Steppe. We need to draw a green card or a land if we do this, otherwise we're just dead. That's a real good one there, opponent. I'm not going to make our guy, I don't think. Elvish Reclaimer. I'll get this guy in. I think we've telegraphed that we have an Endurance, but I don't know how we're supposed to do things differently there. So if we don't draw the land, and we didn't draw the land, then we would just be dead to a Doomsday Kill this turn. We can put a bunch of junk on the bottom of our opponent's deck right now and start pressuring them. How do I feel about that? This isn't a lot of pressure is the issue. Days, we have 1 days. How many Thoughtseizes? Do we just go for it here? Do we just make the Endurance and put 1, 2, 3, 4 cards on the bottom of their library? They can get through them with their clue tokens is the problem. I think we're just back to this, aren't we? Play some Reclaimers out. So they'll both be 3 power guys when we go for our combo. We don't care about the Tamiyo Ultimate because I guess that's a way they can get through their pile and it gets them back to their Doomsday. It's all a bit weird, isn't it? It's got a slow pile with multiple oracles in. They also have 1 minute 45 seconds on the clock and we have 12 minutes 26 seconds, which gives you an idea of the pace of play between us. Now our opponent's playing Doomsday, which has some really big, high time intensive turns, like when you're casting your Doomsday, for example. Okay, they're getting back the Edge of Autumn and bidding off their Tamiyo. You got it. Cast this Oracle. I'm going to put this trigger on a stack, and then we're going to cast this Endurance. We know they don't have Force. They could have a Daze. So if we put 4 cards, the library's going to be 5. They can Edge of Autumn to take it down to 4. Which means they still don't win with the blue pips they have. They also only have 32 seconds to try and win the game. So this turn we go for it. And then we get to finish them off with a Sejiri Steppe on our turn. We'll leave open the Boseiju as well in case that's a relevant thing. Petty Theft. Let's blow up their mana source. I don't remember if they have a tool for this. So I'm going to have to cast a Doomsday again, I would assume. That's what's happening here. Send in the clouds. I don't think they have enough time to win the game here. They'll time out. They have 2 seconds left. Alright, we get the match. It took a long time. We eventually got there. I am curious how this one pans out. I think if we have more time, we still win this one. But it's an interesting one, because they're going to have to try and find enough black to Doomsday again, unless they put a second Oracle in the pile. They don't have a second Oracle in the exile zone, so it might well be in the pile. Alright, that was a long one. Let's go to round number 3. Once upon a time, we've got some Thoughtseizes. We can string something together here. I think this is fine. Our deck has a lot more keepable hands than a regular Turbo Depths deck, but we're not as good as doing the thing as a regular Turbo Depths deck is. A Swamp from our opponents. A Dark Ritual. Are we dead on turn 1? A Douthie Voidwalker. Alright, let's cast this once upon a time first. We want this in the graveyard. I'll take a Vampire Hexmage. We're bound to find green mana at some point. Maybe we're supposed to index a little bit higher on green mana, but our first few turns are just going to be playing black spells. Let's Thoughtseize, see what our opponent's about. Nothing. Sweet nothing over there. Okay, but now they can lose their Douthie Voidwalker if they think Thoughtseizing us is a good play. I don't think they will do that. I think they'll just crack in. We probably lose our land here. Eventually we'll do some Loam in. An Orcish Bowmaster, you say? I'll play out a Thespian stage. We'll start coming in with Bowmaster. Our opponent might have Bowmaster of their own. They might have Stalactite Stalkers. We're not going to play the Bowmaster until either the end of our opponent's turn or if they Wasteland us. We need to get something on board so we can fight back a bit. The only main deck removal we really have is the Legolas's Quick Reflexes, which doesn't always feel like a removal spell. A second one. Yikes. Rest in pieces, all of our things. They could even use this Douthie Voidwalker at some point to steal our stage and lock us out of being able to do Dark Depth stuff. I mean, pretty spooky. Can you resist the temptation to put us back to 0 cards in play? Come on. The cowardice. The sheer cowardice. I will get something going with this Bowmaster. Are you just going to lose all of our lands? Or do you like me having Urborg? Does that help you out? I thought so. We don't really think they have anything going on, do we? Just take their graveyard out here. They've got 1 mystery card in hand. I guess the Inquisition is kind of free to fire off here because it doesn't cost us any life, so may as well give it a go. Just check what's happening. Ooh, Barrowgoyf. I'll take that Barrowgoyf. I'm very glad I did Inquisition now. How do we beat this Douthie Voidwalker? We need to draw green mana. That's kind of where everything starts off. Life of Alone looks terrible in the face of what's happening here. He's played a 3rd Wasteland. Could you chill, opponent? Looks like our opponent's playing something quite similar to the deck that we played on the channel pretty much as soon as Avatar came out. Just like the black good stuff deck that I kind of pioneered a few years ago. It's not exactly a difficult deck to build up, to be honest. The Urborg stopping us from casting something like a Hexmage is a little bit awkward. I will still play out the Karakas. Gives us potential more mana if we do draw an Urborg. And it can pay for colourless costs. And maybe they play the May, the 2 mana creature from... Okay, we're getting Thoughtseized. They can probably work out what we're doing from seeing a Hexmage and stuff. Maybe taking the Hexmage off the Once Upon a Time wasn't the right thing to do. I wasn't expecting such a Wasteland heavy portfolio on the other side. We lost our Hexmage. I'm pretty sure we're just going to die to this Douthie Voidwalker. We need to find green source into Legolas's Quick Reflexes to have any sort of chance. Okay. Well, that's one part of the equation, isn't it? One of the problems we have is that our Orcish Bowmaster is not the correct size. I think we're just going to die here. And that's what it is. Barrowgoyf. Yep. That's less threatening than the Douthie Voidwalker, to be honest. At least we can block this and buy ourselves some time. Once Upon a Time is an uncastable Magic Gathering card. Let's go to the sideboard. Our deck just didn't really function there. The triple Wasteland was certainly a thorn in our side. I would like some removal spells. Let's have these. What do we not really need? Isn't really a Bojuka Bog matchup. Karakas maybe has a tiny bit of text. I don't really want to be discarding cards in a matchup like this. The Loam looks pretty suspect, messing around with our graveyard when they got main decked out through Voidwalkers. They're not really going to be targeting our guys, so the Reflexes come out. Do we take them all out? No, we're boarding in removal. Yeah, I think it's just we take all the Reflexes out. Endurance is just a fine creature if we wanted to be going down that line. I think we're okay with our setup here. Okay, I do like Elvish Reclaimer a lot. So let's get that guy in. Lead off on the Yavimaya. Just a Wasteland for our opponent. Interested in not firing off right away. A Thoughtseize. Okay, I'm going to go and get a basic Swamp here. And Thoughtseize my opponent. We use this crop rotation to play around Wasteland a bit. Barrowgoyf. Opposition Agent, Bowmasters, Barrowgoyf. That's a lot. The Emperor of Bones. It's kind of awkward because they can just get back the Barrowgoyf for a swing. They already have all the mana they require to get things going. I think Opposition Agent is the most irritating thing here. I really like this black deck, by the way. I was very impressed with the first draft of it that I brewed up. I think our opponent's got a slightly higher curve than I was playing because I was running things like Stalactite Stalker, and that felt really good as well because you get just an evasive threat so you can start applying pressure to the combo decks. A Swamp. So Orcish Bowmasters is probably coming our way soon. Play Thespian stage. If our opponent taps out for a Barrowgoyf, we make a massive guy. I don't really want to attack into a Bowmasters. Play your Bowmasters. There it is. And then they untap, they play their Barrowgoyf, and then we kill them. Now, if they play KG and just leave this Wasteland hanging around, we can answer that with a crop rotation into Wasteland next turn. Going to be doing anything over there? He's going to be passing. Yeah, I thought you might do that, opponent. Bit rude. That's once upon a time. If they fire off both Wastelands, they're a long ways off of Barrowgoyf. If they fire off one Wasteland, we can crop rotation. Intriguing. I'll take this Dark Depths, I think. Let's play all this Dark Depths. So they need to keep both Wastelands up at all times here. So there's probably Polluted Delta, go and play Emperor of Bones. I would assume that's where they want to be. Oh, they got Nethergoyf. It's a very small creature. Mox Diamond. That's interesting, isn't it? So let's get this Bayou in. This Mox Diamond, and we'll pitch this Sejiri Steppe. We haven't seen any flying black creatures in the deck. Do I want an untapped mana source, or do I want Sejiri Steppe to push through? So now we can go Elvish Reclaimer, go and get a Wasteland, and then we just have enough to push through double Wasteland. We also have a 3/4 on blocks. So now they can play a Barrowgoyf. Oh, they want to Thoughtseize us today. Intriguing. We'll crop rotate away this Bayou. So we can get a Wasteland here, I think. And then Thoughtseize can connect. And then we can put Marit Lage into play this next turn cycle coming. The Bone Zone. They don't have the mana to activate this just yet. Need black, and they don't have that. Exiling my Karakas. Interesting. 3/4. We can block and just blank the damage. We know our opponent's hand. So if we just go block here, we sacrifice this swamp. So Wasteland us here. We Wasteland their other Wasteland in response. Then they use it, and then we make our combo. So they can't go off her. No, they can't stop us going off with the Wasteland right now. So we go and get this Wasteland. Touch butts with each other and move on. The Wasteland won't increase the number of things in their graveyard. To play around Wasteland from our opponent, I think we just do this now. So we go Wasteland this. We go Wasteland this. And we give them one turn to find an answer. Yep. So they've done what I think is the smart play here, where they know that they can't stop our combo. So they're just going to make sure we have less land to work with afterwards. We get 20/20, we lose a land here. I'm not going to play out the Sejiri Steppe because if they do have a flying blocker, we can answer it. You're in check, opponent. It does feel a little bit like playing chess when you play Turbo Depths, because you have to sort of maneuver all these things, get your pieces in the right place for like the one thing that matters to kill the king, which is effectively a life total in one go. And then you can put them in check and maybe they mess up and you win, or it's checkmate because you have enough tools to protect it. What do you reckon, opponent? We're going to game 3? I think they've also drawn their quota of Wastelands for this match, so maybe in game 3 they won't have any. Right, we tied up the match. Happy with the sideboard in, let's just go back in. Got some hand disruption, got some useful crop rotation-y stuff. This hand seems fine but not exciting, I'm going to keep it. We've got a Once Upon a Time. Alright, they're not doing anything on turn 1. Once Upon a Time, let's have a look. Not super stoked about these. I don't mind having another Reclaimer, just have like some big boys hanging around. I think I'll play out the Boseiju. And then if we get Wastelanded, we still have the Inquisition of Kozilek next turn. So the follow-up turn is going to be Reclaimer plus Inquisition, most likely. But if our opponent plays one of their beloved Wastelands, which they seem to always have, then we can keep up a crop rotation potentially. There's a Wasteland. That's Verdant Catacombs. Let's go and get a Swamp here. Inquisition them for now. What do we got here? Thoughtseize, Barrowgoyf, Bowmasters, Emperor of Bones. Not really into the Barrowgoyf, I think. Get that guy out of our lives. They get it back for 1 turn with the Emperor of Bones. So they can Bowmasters here, so we're not attacking with the Reclaimer. We're just chilling. Do I think they're going to Wasteland us? I think we're just going to go and get this Reclaimer in. If they start Wastelanding us, we end up with much bigger bodies than them. And they can't do anything about that because their big body is in the graveyard. The Emperor of Bones can be a 4/4, which is obviously a pretty good power and toughness to go into our 3/4s. I'd like them to hold up Wasteland and not do too much to us. If we can snag this last threat out of their hand with hand disruption, I'd be grateful. Right, we're going to lose... I don't know what we lose here. Probably just a crop rotation. Double crop rotation allows some really silly shenanigans that people don't expect. But we just have the Reclaimers, so just any lands we have are going to be good. The Emperor of Bones can whittle away the lands in our graveyard if that's the thing they're interested in doing. If they tap out here, we can make the 20/20. Because they've left us with both crop rotations. Okay. That is a choice. A choice you're allowed to make their opponent. 2 cards in hand. We know what they both are. No, we don't. They have 1 mystery card, actually. Is this a bait? Uncertain. So this gets sacrificed to this. We get Yavimaya. This floats green. Comes to Dark Depths. And we make a 20/20. Now that was on board, so our opponent having something like a Shoulder's Edict would not be unexpected. Right, I think we're going to shove some damages in here. I guess they could get Barrowgoyf in, but again, we don't care that much. Just start sowing our opponent's life total. They can strip us down to no resources in terms of land. But we're still going to have these guys kicking around. And they have to answer the Marit Lage. Which I got the feeling they have the answer. The way they tapped out. But I don't think they played the previous game like someone who was confident about playing against a depths deck. Some of the way that they used their Wastelands and things and held on to stuff when they could have tried to sort of gut us from underneath kind of made me think they may be not ready for it. But no, they do have the way of removing it. Are they going to get hit in with Barrowgoyf this turn? I think that's a very good play for our opponent to do. We have a lot of lands in our graveyard at this point, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. So they can't take us off of having 3/4s. But they can just get a Barrowgoyf back and hit us in the face with it. Looks like that's what's happening. Which means we're not getting Wastelanded this turn. So we're taking 4, 5, 6. Probably, 10 total? I think Barrowgoyf's about a 4-5 at this point. Oh no, they're not going for the Barrowgoyf. They're going for the denial of all of our resources. We're just doing a straight up race here. The fact they have a hidden Barrowgoyf here is very annoying. I would love to draw a Dismember. Dismember would be wonderful. There's not a Dismember. I think we're shoving here. Snuff Out is your last card in hand. Yeah, that's a good one, opponent. Real good. I don't even think you need to throw that guy into the bus when you're about to get Barrowgoyf popping. I think we're in some trouble here. We do have a Surveil land. We can reach for that in the end step. Just get back your Barrowgoyf and have a good time with it. Here we go. So we're going to take 9 this turn, and they're going to gain 4, which is an annoying part of that equation. Right, getting rid of our Dark Depths for the purposes of us having a life from Loam. I think we brought out our Loam though because they were main deck Doughty Voidwalker plus Emperor of Bones. You're not coming in with the Emperor. Cowardly. I would just shove there and put us down to 6. And they're getting a Bowmasters back, which is nice as well. But if we clean up this Emperor of Bones now, because they didn't hit us for 4 with it, if we can draw the Dismember right now and just get rid of it, then we're going to be okay. Because this goes away. Oh, they chose Doughty Voidwalker rather than the Bowmasters. I guess the unblockable threat is pretty tasty here. I can see why they want that. Let's go and get our Surveil Land. I think it's the first time we've reached for it all league so far. Go away, Mox Diamond. You are a terrible draw. A Sheoldred's Edict. Well, attacking looks bad. Blocking looks bad. But we can at least stop this Bowmasters from coming in. Yep, here's a Doughty Voidwalker we know about. Our opponent probably just loses their worst creature when we Sheoldred's Edict. Okay, we're not going to get to Sheoldred's Edict. Maybe going for it when we went for it wasn't the right play, because we kind of just stripped away all of our lands. But we had one mystery card to play around, and our opponent didn't seem very confident into the matchup before. I think they missed opportunities that could have won in the game in the second game. Our Reclaimer is still a 3-4. You're not rumbling with the Bone Zone? They're winning the race. I really think they should be pushing damage here. Okay. They decided they would like to push damage. A black source isn't the worst. A green source, not the best. A Reclaimer is fine. We're going to need to find an answer to this Doughty Voidwalker, and we're going to need to find it in the next turn cycle. Dismember doesn't work because we don't have the life total. I think our opponent just beats us here. You can take my Hexmage. Is there a way they can mess this turn up? If they attack with everything, we double block here. We still have a 3-power guy. They're at 7 though. No, I don't think there's a way they can mess this up. I guess they could just not turn sideways for a few turns. But they should just rumble with everything here, right? Actually, no. They should just attack with the Doughty, right? What? What are they saving the Doughty for? Sheoldred's Edict, I guess. So we double block here. They sacrifice the Doughty Voidwalker. But we have enough life to dismember here if we do this. Yeah, so what's going to happen here is we're going to... Actually, no, we don't have enough life to dismember because of the Bowmasters. Yep, so we're clearing the Doughty Voidwalker off the board, which is the unblockable guy. So we can play other blockers moving forward, and that can keep the Emperor of Bones from killing us for a little bit. I don't like that attack at all. I think you attack with the Doughty instead of doing this. Like, it's probably going to work out well for them, but I don't really like the way they've approached this one. Inquisition, and we're dead. Alright, that is the end of the match. Didn't quite manage to get it through. If we don't go for the combo there, what are we doing? We're just kind of sitting and watching each other for a little bit. We don't have ways of beating that unless we can just naturally draw a Bowmasters. So I still like putting them to the test based on the way they were playing the game. Didn't seem optimal to me, but it didn't really work out for us. Let's go to round number 4. This hand doesn't go anywhere. Let's mulligan. Alright, I'll keep this one. Go away, Sejiri Steppe. Do I need to Thoughtseize or can I get the Reclaimer in? Let's see what our opponent plays and then we can make a decision. A Rishidan Port. A Soul Guide Lantern. So this is interesting. There's some kind of lands. The Thoughtseize is not going to get much better. So I think I'm inclined to fire this off now. Try and take out something, like a crop rotation or whatever. Swords to Plowshares. It's a good one to take out, isn't it? So we've got Boseiju, Wasteland, Saga, Bog. Lands is traditionally an absolutely miserable matchup for depth decks. Because they kind of just have so many cards that matter against us. There is a Wasteland. They drew a Sphere of Resistance. You got it, opponent. We can blow up the Sphere if we want to, but that's not really what I'm about just yet. Let's go and get a Forest. And we'll deploy our 2-mana Reclaimer. We need our opponent to be very tapped out for us to have any purchase here. There's a Saga. I wouldn't hate blowing that up with a Boseiju. You're going to port me. Get out of here, Saga. You can enjoy your Lush Portico there. I think we have one of each basic. Let me just check. Yes. Okay, I'm going to push damage here while our opponent doesn't have any action going on. Let's get this Underground Mortuary. Have a little Surveil. A Thespian stage. That's not the one we want. Go in the bin. Because they don't have an engine, so if we can just beat them down while they... Because they were relying on their Ezra Saga to be the thing that carried them. Although they did just mill over this life from the Loam, which is not ideal. So you have that going. How are we ever going to beat this now? They can dredge the Loam. That gets back the Saga. They can... How are we supposed to beat this? Alright, they're Bojuka Bogging us. Okay. And they didn't dredge the Loam. That's a weird play to me. Like, they have the Soul Guide Lantern if they want that effect. Now we get to get rid of this swamp turn it into a Bojuka Bog of our own. Take that, opponent. No life from Loam from you. We are capitalising on what I think was a mistake from our opponent, the way they played that. Obviously, we don't know what's in their hand. There's probably other options going for them. We still have this Boseiju that we have to worry about, which is going to be annoying. Thespian stage means that we can't play Dark Depths without having a big problem. Let's jam in an Orcish Bowmasters. I'm not expecting this to do an awful lot, but it's going to beat down a little bit. And that is kind of what we're up to right now. Let's get stuck in. This gives us another spell to cast in response if we fancy it. Like next time they port us down. Right, they're cantripping with their thing. That's going to give us a ping to their face. I'll take that. Another Sphere of Resistance. Okay. And I assume we're getting ported again. Cool, 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 cool. So we don't get to do anything in response to this sphere in terms of casting spells. We could activate our Reclaim, which I think is what I'm going to do here. I'm going to Wasteland. Play my Karakas and attack for 2. So the Wasteland can take out their port or their Thespian stage, depending on which I think is the most important. Considering they have this Karakas, I'm not really expecting to get ruined by any sort of Marit Lage on the... Sorry, they're not going to ruin our Marit Lage plan. Alright, they played out the Boseiju. Not holding that one in hand. I guess they've got a couple of spheres they're trying to play through. What is that? Why is that all funny and pink? Okay, so this is Crucible of Worlds. Okay. Wastelanding suddenly doesn't look so tempting anymore. Understood. Thoughtseize isn't really the one here. 1, 2, 3. Let's get another threat down. Let's go attacks. I'm going to take out their... Do I take out their Lush Portico? It digs them, but it's a tapped mana source. And tapped mana sources, when they have the walk-in closet, is really bad. It's an interesting option, isn't it? So how much damage are we doing this time? 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, we just need to buy one more turn here. So we'll take out the tapped mana source. And then maybe our little beatdown gets there. Maybe it doesn't. But we put ourselves in a position where we actually have a line to win the game. 1, 2, 3. They can't activate Walk-in Closet and play the Soul Guide Lantern. The other side of this allows you to basically Yawgmoth Will for a turn. Right, so they're playing this. They're surveilling, but we don't care about what's on top of their library because we're going to kill them this turn. Or at least we're going to try to. Yeah! Rubbish beatdown gets there. So the Dark Depths plan in this matchup doesn't feel good to me. I guess we would like some Force of Figures though. Some Endurances. Give me that Barrowgoyf, please. Surgical Extraction is also pretty good for Life from the Loam shenanigans. Our Hand Disruption kind of sucks here. The Quick Reflexes is an interesting one. Not sure how I feel about it. I think we'll trim a couple. And we're just going to have... Maybe we could have some Shoulder's Edicts for their 2020s. We can have Abrupt Decays. Because these can kill as a side construct, Sphere of Resistance, a whole bunch of things. And then we just don't need the Reflexes. Like, this is a matchup where the Reflexes look good if we can do our thing. But doing our thing is so hard here. We want the Sejiri Steppe so we can push through their 2020 if they have one. Our own Life from Loam seem good. How do we beat a 2020? Do we just have to suck it up and hope that that doesn't happen? No, I'm going to take one Shoulder's Edict in. Just nice to know it's there somewhere. The percentage chance of drawing Shoulder's Edict between having 0 in your deck and having 1 in your deck is obviously very different. Once upon a time, are you going to be good? Maybe. Alright, the Reflexes is interesting here. We have a lot of Urborgs, but we're going to be pitching one anyway and crop rotating another one, so it ends up washing out. Oh look, it's an Urza Saga. Not a big lover of Urza Saga right up in our face like that. Probably means they have an Ancient Tomb for next turn. Force of Vigor. Let's Once Upon a Time first. Okay, we'll take the Hexmage. We'll deploy the Mox Diamond. We'll play our Hexmage out. If they have removal and they spend on this, then sure. I don't think they're going to. Next turn, we would love to draw a green source so that we can hold out this quick Reflexes. I don't think we care about a singular construct. We can remove all the counters so they can go back through all the chapters again if they want. Oh, a Wasteland. Yeah, wasn't doing anything anyway. A Ghost Vacuum. You got it, opponent. Could blow up both of these if I wanted to. I don't know if I want to be honest. Green source. Green source, please. Not a green source. Okay. Right, I think we just back down to rubbish beatdowns. I think, though, I want to Force of Vigor this turn. And I'm going to give up my Reclaimer to do it. We're doing the upkeep. So I kind of want the Reflexes and the crop rotation, because then if we find a green source, we're just away. This way our opponent doesn't get to tutor. They don't get to have enough mana to do a Life them alone this turn. And get back that Wasteland. I think this works out pretty well for us. We just need a green source. An untapped green source. Give me a basic forest. I guess we do have to worry about them just killing this in response to us crop rotating. But if they only have 1 mana up, we can protect our... Okay, so we have found the Boseiju. This is the way we have a shot at winning this game. So we need them to just have 1 mana up this turn. If they just play like a Karakas or a Wasteland and pass here, then that sucks. Okay, and there's a Saga. That's not a coloured source. I think this works for us. Let's crop rotate this. Let's get that depths. Let's make it 2020. Your source of plowshares is no good here, opponent. I don't think their deck can afford to play Solitudes. We should just be away here. You're supposed to do that in your end step, opponent. Because if they do it in their end step, then we have to burn something on our turn. That should be the game. We found some lines there. So the little beatdown plan was actually pretty effective against lands when their plan's really good against what we have, but this time we just managed to find a little path where we could make a quick guy with the right level of protection. Right, we are, what, 3-1, so we've got 1 more round to go to see if we can put down the 4-1. Let's give it a try. Final round. We've got a Reclaimer, that does a lot of work for us, we'll keep this. And he's going to Thoughtseize and take our Mox Diamond. Ah, here it goes. Goodbye, Mox Diamond, maybe. Maybe they just take the Reclaimer anyway. We can't cast it without the Mox Diamond, although we can cast it a turn down the stretch with Mortuary, and maybe they're okay with that. Knowing about the Legolas's quick reflexes does change the way they play. Well, they just took our Reclaimer. I think that's perfectly fair. The old Thoughtseize bug, eh? I'll play out this Urborg. I'll play out this Mox Diamond. And now I'll play a Reclaimer a Round of Days. We don't get to protect it with the Reflexes yet, but we can next turn. It's not really what the Reflexes is there to protect, but sometimes it comes up. Thoughtseize, we lose the Reflexes. No protection allowed. They could then just play a land and fatal push us. What flavour of blue-black deck are they? Gran. What is this? I've heard this is making waves in Standard. Whenever it becomes tapped, draw a card, then discard a card. Non-creature spells you cast cost 1 less to cast as long as there are 3 or more lessened cards in your graveyard. Okay. If they want to be drawing additional cards, I want to be punishing them for that. I guess we just hold up here for a turn. We've got Bowmasters around Days, which is what we're playing to this turn. But we can also hold up a Reclaimer activation if it becomes important. They could attack here because they're safe on the attacks. Or are they? Nobody expects the Bowmaster Inquisition. Come again. I'll ping Gran down once. They have their own Bowmaster. But we still get to kill the Gran if that's the thing that we think is important. Because we have this 1-1 guy. Are they using this as a way of enabling Reanimator? They are using that as a way to enable Reanimator. Happy we have ourselves a Bojuka Bog. Yeah, that seems way better than Katara for enabling what you're trying to do. Boseiju, we're not really about that, are we? Let's get this in. A cheeky Surveil. It's a Hexmage. I wouldn't mind drawing the Hexmage. I'll leave that on top. We're probably going to have to shuffle it away anyway if they go for reanimation this turn. Yes, they're using Gran as a 1-mana Merfolk Looter. I don't know how many lessons they're realistically going to have in their deck. You can ponder. Not a massive fan of the old Wasteland there. We can play around it eventually. I think I'm okay to get this down. If they tap out the Wasteland, we can make a 20-20. They could Wasteland us at the end step and maybe force action on the Reclaimer now. We just have to go and get a Bojuka Bog at that point, don't we? They did not do that though. So next time we can untap, hit the Wasteland with a Boseiju, and then we're away. I think we've wriggled ourselves into a decent enough spot, but our opponent's got 3 cards in hand, which could be big news. Let's play some other old Gran lady. So Tamio, that's pretty good. We can attempt to go for the combo right now. I'm not going to do that because they have a Wasteland in play. But this turn we can do it. Ooh. If we want to go for the combo, we don't get to Thoughtseize this turn. How good is the Thoughtseize? It's pretty good. How good is a 20-20? Also pretty good. Okay, I think we're just going to Thoughtseize. We can play around Animate Dead if we make a 20/20 now, so let's say they tap out for something, then in response to this Thoughtseize, we can see their hand, see what if the coast is clear or whatever, maybe make a 20/20 and then hold up Boseiju to blow up and animate dead with the trigger on the stack so it never returns the Atraxa. That is available to us. Also, we don't care about the Atraxa that much if we have a 20/20 in play. There's a very few number of cards they can dig into. Okay, Brazen Borrower, get out of here. That is one of the cards I don't want to see. Okay, we're in a pretty good spot. We need our opponent's next draw not to be an absolute banger. And then we're okay. I'm very glad I Thoughtseize first. Okay, Tamiyo comes in, gets them a clue. I'd rather he didn't, but here we are. The brainstorm, you say? Well, we have an answer to backside of Tamiyo in play. We can't have that many borrowers to have all this space for stuff. Can't really attack with a Hexmage here, because it'll only be a 1/1. Orcish Bowmaster. This is going to target our Hexmage, I believe. So we're going to have to do something here. What we're going to do is we're going to Boseiju right now. Then they're going to Wasteland something. And then we make a 20/20. Sacrifice the thing they're targeting. Get Dark Depths. Make a 20/20 to fizzle the Bowmasters. And now even if they reanimate an Atraxa, they might not have enough mana to then kill our guy with a borrower. They might not find a borrower, and we can always get Sejiri Steppe and punch through. Brainstorm is obviously a pretty good start to finding the answer here. Atraxa was not good enough at this point. Unless, well, I guess they could Fatal Push and kill our Reclaimer. That's pretty good. But they're not going to be able to go land. We're going to go Atraxa. I guess if they have Reanimate, they can still do it, I suppose. Going to 14. We're sort of at the mercy of what our opponent does this turn. Getting back a Ponder with a Tamiyo. That is not a display of strength. It suggests they have a second borrower in their deck. They shuffled off the Ponder. Okay, they have a Tamiyo. They should be dead to our Sejiri Steppe. We also get to Thoughtseize first. We don't know if they still have Grand in hand. Thoughtseize first, just to check. It's a Ponder, we'll take it. It's going to get Sejiri Steppe. I don't think we got rid of that earlier for some reason. Okay, they're not even letting us show them the Sejiri Steppe. They're just scooping it up. Whew, bit of a tight one, but I don't mind that. I would like some endurances, please. Surgical Extractions probably have to come in, but our opponent's going to have a pivot plan, so we're going to need all of this stuff as well. Probably our own Barrowgoyf, maybe, although we don't want them reanimating our Barrowgoyf. A whole bunch of things I'm interested in having here. What does not look so hot? I don't think we're cutting any of our land package. I think we're probably trimming on some crop rotations. Probably trimming on some quick reflexes, because it doesn't help against Shoulder's Edict. Is it the Once Upon a Times that go here? That leaves us with 5 cuts, so we probably don't get to play all of this. I think we need the hand disruption. It's just really good here. I don't think we're cutting any of this. We could just cut the reflexes and just try and dodge borrower that way. We've got more threats as well because we're boarding in 3 threats. Do we need all of these extractions? How much are they going to be on their combo? We're already pretty good against their combo anyway, so maybe take out a couple of extractions. And then we have to decide one more cut from this pile. I like Life from a Loam here. Karakas bounces their Tamiyo. Do we need Echoing Deeps? This allows us to double Bojuka Bog, which is kind of huge. Are we easing off on the Dark Depths plan? We could cut a Dark Depths. We could have maybe less removal. We just take out this Dismember, because it doesn't always kill their guys, whereas the Abrupt Decay does. Because their big pivot plans are going to be Murktide Regent and Barrowgoyf. Shoulder's Edict handles the Murktide, Abrupt Decay handles the Barrowgoyf. This hand. I'm going to keep it for science, I think. So we have the ability to do turn 1 Loam stuff and just play like a glorified lands deck, which is very good against tempo-y style decks. We've seen here, if we see Grand, then we have to maybe Karakas and bounce it. If we see Tamiyo, we bounce it. Sure, we go bouncy. Mox Diamond. Kind of want this to resolve, please. This is the thing that's holding our mana base together. Our opponent doesn't necessarily know that. So you're like, okay, you've got 2 Dark Depths, why don't you discard one? However, if our opponent's played Surgical Extraction, they extract our depths. That's really annoying for us. I think I'm just going to bin off the stage. And then I will bounce this. The Grand is also a legendary creature, I believe. So it's not going to be the easiest for them to get a creature in play that they care about. Okay. I'm going to crop rotate this now. They can daze, but it's only a 1-for-1 exchange because the land was going anyway. I will get this Urborg. You're going to play your Tamiyo. You got Tamiyo. Got Force of Will over there, opponent? I'm going to put my opponent to the test here and play around Wasteland. Because we have the Life from Loam to just fire it again later because there's already a Thespian stage in the graveyard. They have the Borrower, sure. That was always a possibility, but if they don't have it, the game kind of... Well, they chump block for once and then the game ends. And we just get to send it again in a second anyway. Okay, we could just send it this way, couldn't we? Same thing again, playing around the Wasteland. What now, opponent? Do you have your second Brazen Borrower? I don't know how many Borrowers they can fit in their list. But again, if this goes away, we still have Life from Loam, we have the inevitability. Eventually, they're going to run out of answers for a 2020. Ponder. That is not the sign of someone who has the answer in hand. They shuffled their library. Ponder. So this is going to flip their Tamiyo. That's not what you want to do here, opponent. That's your chump blocker. Oh, wow. They could have not cast this Ponder, let the Tamiyo chump block for a turn. But instead, we just get the match. So we finish up with a nice little 4-1. We only lost one round, and that was a 1-2, so it was relatively close. I'm trying to remember what that even was. But we had some interesting plays. We managed to beat Doomsday, which isn't always a great matchup either. Let's have a look at the deck. So I like some of the things about this deck. I used to, like I said earlier, I used to play Slow Depths myself, but that was back when Dark Confidant was a playable Magic the Gathering card, so it was a kind of a different beast. And you would play 3 to 4 Mox Diamonds and you would play 3 to 4 Loams, so it was a lot more grindy and we weren't playing Once Upon a Time. I don't know if this card was legal back then. I don't think this was out yet. I enjoy having Elvish Reclaimer. I have considered running Elvish Reclaimers. Well, there was a while where I was running Elvish Reclaimer in Turbo Depths just to try and hate on some of the Reanimator stuff back when Frog was a thing. But didn't feel necessary once Frog went. This in the sideboard is also an option I've entertained as well because you can kind of replace some crop rotations in matchups where you don't want to get clipped with your crop rotations and you can just have your Reclaimer. So that's another option you can have. But we didn't really have tools to answer things in play very much, which could be a little bit scary. But we kind of played a lot like Turbo Depths for most of this game, except we had Elvish Reclaimer sometimes holding down the fort. We did win a few games just by beating it down with this guy and turning him sideways, especially alongside like the Endurance and the sideboard in that Doomsday matchup. So I like a lot of what this deck is trying to do. I think it's totally fine. I kind of feel that we should be 2-2 on the Loam Once Upon a Time split, so we've got a little bit more Loam action. If we're trying to play an inevitability game and go slower, you need something to make going slower worthwhile. And Life from Loam is that card, because that just gives you the inevitability to actually execute your combo. Whereas, if we don't have Life from Loam and we're just kind of playing off the top, it might be difficult to execute our combo multiple times. Like, yes, Elvish Reclaimer can help, but let's say we don't have the Elvish Reclaimer, we're just playing Turbo Depths with less tutors, right? And we just got some like awkward Bowmaster looking stuff. The Bowmaster itself was fine. Like, this was part of our beatdown plan, but if this was a Barrowgoyf, I think the deck is just better, sadly. It's just, on its own, Barrowgoyf is just a bigger, scarier threat. As a single threat, this doesn't feel great. Now, yes, there is the, okay, they can't Shoulder's Edict us, but there's like there's two decks in the format, like Grixis Control and Dimir Tempo, that have Shoulder's Edict in their main deck, and that's like one copy, and they usually have a second copy in the board. So I'm not really sure this is necessarily the way we want to be going. If you want a threat that's just a threat, Barrowgoyf is right there. I dislike Barrowgoyf a great deal as a card, but it would fill that slot in this deck. You could also do a split if you really wanted to, for like curve considerations. The Mox Diamond stunk up our hand a couple of times and then helped us accelerate a few other times and fix our mana. So all in all, I'm pretty neutral on it. I think it felt fine. We didn't have a Ghost Quarter that we could reach for because we're not running our own Pithing Needles. We got jammed up a little bit by Wastelands. Oh, I've just remembered the matchup we lost was the Mono Black matchup, wasn't it? Where they had Wastelands and Shoulder's Edict. So, not the easiest one for us there. In terms of the sideboard, I certainly felt like we had tools we wanted. We very often brought in the fair pivot plan, and it was okay. Like, the pivot plan did some work for us. We had to sort of squeeze out some thin margins, especially against the land matchup. Just kind of play to specific outs, like hurting them with their own sphere by taking them off of their land, so when they get it back, it's tapped, and that sort of thing. So there's definitely play to this deck, and it's cool. I wouldn't be upset to play this at a tournament. Like, if you've got some Dark Depths and Hexmage action in your deck, I'm probably going to be happy to play it at the end of the day. I do love this card more than most human beings, I would imagine. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this one. I hope the donors are pleased to see their deck go well on the channel. It was a fun little list, and we got to do some nice tricksy plays here and there, and showcased how you can play through Wastelands. Like, they had the double Wasteland our opponent had, and we beat it. That was really nice. So yeah, big thumbs up. I enjoyed this one. We're done. If you need some cards for this, 3-for-1 trading. If you want to become a Patreon member and see a guide to playing Turbo Depths, that's on there. If you want to see my videos early, become a YouTube member for $1 a month. Why not? And if you want to just give me a nice little Christmas present, you're welcome to do that as well. You can do it via the YouTube gifting system they have on there. Obviously, just enjoy the content and have a lovely Christmas, I suppose. I can't remember if this video is going out before or after Christmas. Anyway, December is most of the way through now, and I hope you've enjoyed it, but there's still a little bit more left to come, so stay tuned. All right, thank you so much for watching, and goodbye. If you'd like to support me in the channel, please check out my Patreon. It has a free guide to budget Turbo Depths, as well as 3 tiers of support. A low-cost one that enters you into my monthly raffle for a free donation deck on the channel, a mid-tier subscription that gives you access to my detailed Turbo Depths guide that is updated every month, as well as regular articles, and lastly, the higher tier gives you all of the above, as well as a monthly donation deck for my channel. If you're interested in supporting the channel this way, please check out the link in the description.